Nick Nurse, after Nick has led them to a championship, first championship of a Canadian team, Toronto's first championship. Let's see, that's 2019, 2020, 2020-21 season, 2021-22, and here we go, 22-23. Nick Nurse is now canned. Now, I just want to be very clear with some of you guys because I had this conversation with a lot of people that if Dwayne Casey would have inherited Kawhi Leonard, I just went to the dentist and it looks like my dentist got some stuff in my glasses. If Dwayne Casey would have inherited Kawhi Leonard, Dwayne Casey'd have a championship too. And everybody talked about how Dwayne Casey wasn't making enough adjustments and how Nick Nurse was this fantastic coach. He was this great coaching mind. And I'm like, bro, listen. And also, the other part, that we got rid of DeRozan to pick up a rental for one season. And I'm going to put it on the line right now. Kawhi Leonard's not the reason we won a championship. That was a championship team in the making. Okay? That was a championship team in the making. We saw what happened. DeMar DeRozan is still killing it. Imagine DeMar DeRozan was still at the Raptors. Would the Raptors be in better shape? Would the Raptors be in better shape going forward with DeMar DeRozan still on the team? Okay? With a Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and a Fred VanVleet back up, with all these young talent that we had, would we be in better shape? You doggone right we'd be in better shape right now. We would be. And Nick Nurse, Dwayne Casey's understudy, and forgive me, I'm calling Dwayne Casey the wrong name. It's the great Dwayne Casey. We'd be in much better shape. Much better shape. So I want to be very clear with everybody when I'm seeing that the Raptors firing him. The Raptors firing him definitely demonstrates that he wasn't the coach that everybody thought he was. He absolutely wasn't. And he wasn't able to develop the incredible talent that Toronto had sitting around. So we had very good talent on that team. We had great talent. And the fact that we could not put our act together and develop into a strong playoff contender speaks to nothing else but Nick Nurse. It doesn't speak to anybody else, it speaks to me. Yeah, Graylin Marshall, how you doing, brother? Yeah, in Toronto right now, we're dealing with, I think, the fickleness, too, of a franchise that doesn't have any level of gratefulness. Doesn't have any level of gratefulness. Toronto has a very bad habit of firing great coaches. We fired, in recent memory, every single coach we have fired has been a coach of the year candidate. We haven't fired one single bad coach. We haven't. Nick, now again, he wasn't our savior, but he was still a very, very good coach. Dwayne Casey was a great coach. Sam Mitchell was the coach of the year when they fired him. Butch Carter was a great coach. What's going on from Nassau, Bahamas? Good to see you. And we have this really ungrateful mindset here in Toronto. Like, we don't stick with anything. Like, we don't hang out and say, listen, we're gonna roll the dice on what we got working for us. Who in the NBA right now? Honestly, who in the NBA right now is a better fit for Toronto than Nick Nurse? Hey, Yvonne Moore, how you doing? We don't have anything like that. We don't have anybody else that I see anywhere in the NBA that I would say, yeah, bring that guy in here, let's make him a better coach. So we really have this sense of real ungratefulness happening over here. And I know it's kind of a break from my normal conversation with you guys, but it speaks volumes to me in respect to what's going on in this city, in respect to our sports teams. I don't know what you guys have to say. Hey, what's going on in Washington State? What's up? What's going on in Satsville? Yeah, we're dealing with the fact that they just fired our Toronto Raptors head coach here after winning a championship and doing, basically the impossible. We basically fired him, and it goes to show, the level of loyalty in sports. It goes to show the fickleness, and that you're only as good as what you've done yesterday, and the scapegoat behavior of Masai Ujiri, because of course he has to blame somebody other than himself. He should fire himself. The Raptors didn't have a very good year. They lost their play-in game, but at the end of the day, the NBA is about talent more than it's about coaching. And sometimes coaching can make a difference, but at the end of the day, you don't got the talent. You don't got the talent. Firing coaches for not being able to make players do what players can't do. Great players play great, and if you don't play great, you lose. That's it. But again, we hung that on the shoulders of Nick Nurse. But my issue really is that they fired this black coach who built that franchise and handed it over to Nick Nurse, allowed Nick Nurse to basically run into the finish line with a championship, made this big deal out of this guy when he was basically just an understudy. And if we look at the record, Dwayne Casey, I believe, is when he went to Detroit. I think they've beaten us just about every game. So they fired our black coach, who built our entire franchise just before he was about to win a championship. They got rid of him, hired his understudy. That guy goes on to win a championship with Kawhi Leonard, the rental. Kawhi comes in here for 1 year. We win a championship, and Nick Nurse looks like the great white hope. It's hypocritical. It's super hypocritical. Because the guy wasn't the great coach they're talking about, but he's not a bad coach. I'm not going to say he's a bad coach. Next stop, but we have an African GM and president, Masai Ujiri. He's African. He had an African American coach who was, I think he was a coach of the year too. Fires him. Hires his backup, Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse wins a championship with his team. He did the same thing to Mark Jackson. Did the same thing to Mark Jackson in Golden State. The exact same thing. Mark Jackson built that Golden State team. He gave Curry his confidence when Curry's ankles were made of glass, and Curry couldn't finish out a season. And then they got rid of Mark Jackson. What happened? Hired Steve Kerr, and they won a whole bunch of championships. Not because Steve Kerr is a great coach. He's got great talent. So this is what happens in sports, man. This is what happens in sports. It's really terrible. But at the end of the day, they're going to roll another dude in here, and he's going to be, they're going to be singing his praises for a while until he has a couple of losing seasons too. And then kick him out too. It's the same old cycle, right? But Toronto's got a lot of great players. We've got a great farm system. We've got a great developmental system. And what they need to do finally is they need to hire Jamal Magloire, who is a Toronto native, played for Toronto. He's been coaching in Toronto. Trinidadian descent. They need to give Jamal Magloire that job and stop playing games, because Jamal Magloire has been sitting on the sidelines for years. So they need to hire Jamal Magloire and let Jamal Magloire take over the reins and be the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. It's about time we have our own Canadian, African Canadians, and in this case Trinidadian African Canadian, running the team here, and stop playing those games. Ime Udoka, eh? They're not going to bring Ime Udoka into Canada. Canada is too conservative for Ime Udoka. And Jury's going to he's going to risk his job doing that. Ime Udoka would be a great choice. Absolutely a great choice. Will he risk his job to do it? No. Ime Udoka is toxic. He's nuclear. If they bring him in here, you better win year one, or you basically brought a sexual predator to Toronto to coach the team. And if you don't win right away, the press is going to kill you. It's going to eat you alive in Canada. They'll eat you alive here. You know, that's a great idea. It's a really great idea. That's a fantastic thought, actually. It would shake things up. It would make Toronto very newsworthy. It would cause all attention to be on Toronto. But Masai would have to know very well what he's doing, because his ass would be on the line. Anyhow, that didn't work.
Next stop, Spadina Avenue.
His ass would be on the line, 100%. Anyways, I want to jump on here quick and talk about this and let you guys know what's going on. But yeah, Nick Nurse has been fired in Toronto, and we don't know what's happening next as far as the Toronto Raptors. I don't like the cycle. I really hope they replace him with a black coach. They don't have enough black coaches in the NBA as it is, in my opinion. And they need to put a black coach in here. And my vote is for Jamal Magloire to get that job. So let's see what happens, and I'll talk to you guys soon.